Imagine a world of absolute predictability. You've just been born. No need for fortune telling, no need for career tests. Right there on your palm at the very base of your thumb, there's a mark. Not a tattoo, not a brand, but a pure, clear designation, like a fingerprint, a code, a combination of letters and numbers. This is your profession, your future, your place. What do you see around you now? A desk, a computer, a cup of coffee. Someone created them, designed them, manufactured them, delivered them. In the world we're talking about, whoever delivered that cup knew this from the first second of its existence. Whoever developed it knew it too. And whoever manages the entire distribution system for these cups knew it even more. How does such a system work? Let's look at its fundamentals. Imagine a gigantic planetary scale registry, a global database, updated in real time with every new breath in maternity wards across the planet. A scanner reads the code. The system analyzes it, and immediately, without human intervention, it adds a new unit to the orderly line of future masons, neurosurgeons, logisticians, or agronomists. No mistakes, no doubts, no what I want to be. There is only the fact, what I will be. And now think, how will this change the very foundation of society? The family. Parents no longer guess, no longer dream, no longer project their unfulfilled hopes. They look at the code and know. They know with chilling clarity. Their child is not a blank slate. It is a completed application form. And their role is not to guide, but merely to deliver this finished product to the address specified by the system, to a special training center corresponding to the code type. What is happening to education? Forget about broad horizons, unnecessary subjects, and soft skills. Why would a future high-precision machine assembler need to know about Renaissance poetry? Why would a future vertical farm operator need a deep understanding of the laws of thermodynamics? The education system is becoming a hyper-efficient conveyor belt. From the age of 3, it's all narrow specialization. Only the essentials. Only what will be useful tomorrow in a specific workplace. Maximum output with minimal investment of time and resources. And so we come to the main question, which is probably already swirling around in your head. The question of freedom. The gift of chance. The happy coincidence that once led a genius not to the field where he was supposed to be, but to the one where he made a breakthrough. In our hypothetical world, there's no place for this. The path is predetermined. From point A of birth to point B, the grave. A straight, even perfectly calculated line. Convenient? Absolutely. Effective? More than enough. But is this life as we understand it? Is there room for unexpected discovery, for insight at the intersection of disciplines, for rebellion and choice? While you're pondering this, imagine yourself already looking at your palm. And you see a code there. What would you like to see there? And are you ready for this to be the only answer to all the questions of your future? Imagine walking through a city. But this isn't the city you're used to. There are no random routes here, no fuss of uncertain choices. The architecture here is a direct visualization of destiny. Notice the structure. See those tall towers connected by bridges to the low, sprawling workshop complexes? That's the Metallurg 03 residential sector, directly connected to the smelting complex. Its residents never sit in traffic jams. Their commute to work is a short walk along a covered corridor. Effective, isn't it? Now look over there at those domed biological laboratories. Next to them, tightly packed like a honeycomb, are the employees' living quarters. They don't waste time commuting. Their world is concentrated within a 500-meter radius. Home, work, a specialized cafeteria, a technical training center. Everything necessary is here. Everything unnecessary is removed. This is the conveyor city principle. Society, knowing in advance the professional affiliation of each of its members, optimizes space with mathematical precision. Why would a future transportation engineer live next to a botanical garden? His place is next to depots, drafting offices, and test tracks. Thus, completely homogeneous professional clusters are formed. Neighborhoods transform into closed ecosystems, where everyone speaks the same professional language, thinks in similar categories, and lives by identical schedules. What disappears from such a city? The very possibility of a chance encounter disappears. There are no more streets where motley crowds of people with different backgrounds stroll. There are no neighborhoods where a poet, a miner, and a cook live side by side. The social fabric, the very one born from chaotic, unpredictable intermingling, becomes smooth, even, predictable, and fragile. Public transportation infrastructure between clusters is reduced to a minimum, serving only logistical needs. Why should people travel to other neighborhoods? Their work, their life, their circle, all are here. Now consider this. What happens to society in such a physical space? Not only does geographic but also mental intermingling disappear. Children from the programming cluster don't see children from the oceanology cluster from the age of 3. Their realities don't intersect. They grow up believing that the entire world is structured like their sector, specialized, logical, and isolated. The convenience of such a life is obvious. Zero wasted time, maximum focus on the task at hand. But where is innovation born? Often at the boundaries, at the junctions, at the points of conflict between different worldviews. In a conveyor belt city, such points simply don't exist. It's a perfectly tuned mechanism where every cog knows its place and doesn't come into contact with those whose function is fundamentally different. Is this efficient? Undoubtedly. But is this life for a big city? Is there room for an unexpected corner, for impractical beauty, for simply getting lost? While you're pondering this, take a look at a map of your city. Try mentally dividing it not by administrative districts, but by professions. Where would you end up? And would you want your world to be forever limited to this neighborhood? Now let's shift our gaze from the city to the inside, to the very beginning of the journey. Imagine an educational institution, but forget the school hallways, filled with laughter and noise, where a future physicist jostles with a future artist during recess. Instead, imagine a quiet, perfectly lit complex. There are no signs with names on its doors, only codes. Sector A7, Building F12. This is not a school. This is a pre-production workshop. From the age of 3, immediately after the code is identified, a child enters here. They are surrounded only by those whose tags match their type. Future data analysts hear only the clicking of keys and the quiet hum of servers. Future welders smell metal and ozone even before they pick up a tool. Education here is devoid of anything that could be called superfluous. Why would a future microchip assembly line operator need an in-depth study of history? Its curriculum includes only the physics of materials, the fundamentals of electrical engineering, and precision motor skills. The program is designed to achieve professional readiness as quickly as possible. Pay attention to the methods. There are no lectures in the traditional sense. There are simulations. A future surgeon at age 7 is already working with a virtual anatomical model. A future agronomist at age 10 is managing the climate in a training hydroponic setup. Practice outpaces theory because theory is reduced to the bare minimum necessary for performing specific operations. The concept of a general education subject has been abolished as an inefficient waste of resources. What happens to such children? They don't waste time. They don't experience the agony of choice or crises of self-determination. Their path is clear. But ask yourself, what is childhood in such a system? It is continuous, purposeful training. Games, if they exist, simulate work processes. Social connections are formed exclusively within the professional caste. A child from the construction cluster may never hear the live speech of a child from the music cluster. Their worlds are separated not only by walls, but by the very structure of thought shaped by a highly specialized environment. And here's the key point. The efficiency of this system is near absolute. It produces ideal specialists, just as an assembly line produces ideal components. But can such a component transcend its function? Is it capable of the creativity that comes from a broad perspective, from the ability to connect the incompatible? The system of early segregation precludes the very possibility of such a question. It creates not people in our contradictory understanding, but highly functional elements of a single mechanism. Their knowledge is profound but narrow. Their skills are honed, but applicable only to one predetermined point. They are ready for work, but are they ready for life? Think about it. Would you want your consciousness, your horizons, your perception of the world to be defined at age 3 and never change? Or is there value in the chaos of conventional education, with all its shortcomings, the value of a chance encounter, an unexpected interest, an opportunity to turn off the predetermined path? Now imagine that progress has come to a standstill. Not halted, no. It moves, but along tracks laid down at the moment of each new member's birth. We call this phenomenon functional stagnation. Look at the innovation graphs in such a world. They show smooth, predictable growth. The improvement curve for known technologies is steadily rising. But where are the breakthroughs? Where are the revolutionary discoveries that turn everything upside down? They don't exist. And the reason is simple. Breakthroughs often emerge at intersections, at the border between physics and biology, at the intersection of art and programming. In the mind of someone who, trained as an engineer, suddenly saw a solution in the pattern of a leaf. But in the world of professional clusters, such intersections are impossible. The biochemist's consciousness is formed in the hermetic environment of his cluster. He has never had a conversation with an architect or a poet. His brain, perfectly tuned to solving the problems of his field, is free of noise, those very random associations that lead to insight. Look at the history of science in this parallel world. All discoveries are purely linear, improving engine efficiency by 2.3%, creating a new alloy with specified parameters, breeding an agricultural crop with increased yield. All of this is important, useful, but predictable. The system generates excellent specialists, but it cannot produce lone geniuses who think differently. A genius here is someone who does their narrow work an order of magnitude better than others, but they cannot transcend it because these boundaries have been ingrained in their consciousness since childhood. Consider, what moved humanity forward in our reality? Often it was a mistake, an accident, the unexpected application of old knowledge in a new field. Here, such accidents are systematically excluded. Research institutes are staffed by those whose label is scientist, but they are divided into departments that barely interact with each other. Interdisciplinary committees are disbanded as unnecessary. Why does a nuclear physicist need to understand the intricacies of ecology? Its task is to increase reaction efficiency. Thus, society achieves unprecedented stability and efficiency in exploiting existing knowledge, but it loses the ability to generate fundamentally new knowledge. This is a world perfectly optimized for running the distance but has forgotten how to turn corners and discover new routes. It is reliable, it is safe, but in its clockwork mechanisms, there is no room for the miracle of an unexpected discovery, one that is not listed in any register of professions. So what is more valuable to civilization? Absolute order, eliminating upheaval, or creative chaos in which the future is born? While you ponder this, look at any object around you. Can you confidently say that it would have been invented in a world where everyone knows their place from birth? Now let's follow the thread we've begun to unravel. We've seen a city conveyor and early preparation workshops. But what happens when this perfectly tuned machine malfunctions? Enter the term anomaly. In our hypothetical world, this isn't a medical diagnosis. It's a social deviation. Imagine that a person labeled greenhouse operator develops an inexplicable, intense urge to design mechanisms. They secretly study blueprints, crafting incredible devices from scrap materials. This is a system failure, and the system must respond. How? Observe. First, a gentle correction. Integrate additional modules into their standard curriculum designed to restore focus. Increased doses of greenhouse practice. If that doesn't work, neurostimulators are activated. Targeted stimulation of specific areas of the brain responsible for professional identification and the suppression of parasitic interests. The procedure is painless, highly effective, and is carried out as part of the cluster's mandatory medical support. But what if this doesn't help? What if the anomaly manifests in an adult, already working specialist? Then the system's final, absolute argument comes into play: cognitive retraining. This isn't just a retraining course. It's a complete dismantling of the personality. With the help of pharmacological cocktails and targeted informational influence, old, erroneous neural connections are weakened. New ones, corresponding to the original code, are built in their place. The person is essentially reassembled, like a complex device returned to a service center for reflashing. Think about it for a moment. Where is the line between treatment and control? Between concern for the well-being of society and the suppression of individuality? A system based on predetermination cannot tolerate an internal threat. An individual who has gone beyond its limits, their rebellion is not political. It is deeper. It is a rebellion against one's own essence as the system sees it. And so it is suppressed at the most fundamental, biological level. And here we come to the main paradox. Striving for absolute stability, the system is forced to create ever more sophisticated tools to combat human nature, which is by definition fickle and unpredictable. It expends colossal resources not on development, but on maintaining its own infallibility. Every corrected anomaly is a quiet victory for order, but it is also a forever lost opportunity. After all, that same greenhouse operator with a penchant for mechanics could perhaps have invented a new type of climate system, revolutionizing his own field. But the world will never know. His talent was returned to its designated boundaries. Convenient, safe, undeniably. But what are we willing to give up for this order? The opportunity to be not just a cog in the machine, but also at times an unpredictable creator. Now imagine the flip side of this ideal order. You've seen how the system corrects internal failures. But what happens when resistance forms not within the individual, but between people? Structures emerge. Enter the term codeless. This isn't a political party. It's a network, underground communities of those who either manage to cheat the system or whose anomalies prove stronger than the corrections. Their goal is not to seize power, but to destroy it. To destroy the very principle of predestination. How do they operate? Their methods are those of digital guerrillas. They don't take to the streets. They hack. Their main target is the central registry, that gigantic database where everyone's fate is stored. The attacks are like pinpoint viruses that don't destroy information but distort it. They wreak havoc on the orderly columns of codes. Today, a person with the mark of an artist might end up in a logistics cluster. Tomorrow, at the Management Children's Center, they'll read a code prescribing them to become a bricklayer. This isn't a riot in the streets. It's a rebellion within reality itself, within society's digital DNA. The system's response is predictable and brutal. Since simple biometrics based on a face or fingerprint are no longer reliable, new protocols are being introduced. Scanning now occurs at the level of neural patterns and body chemistry. Every workstation, every door to a professional cluster, is equipped with a scanner that reads not a code on the skin, but the very biochemistry of one's destiny. It determines whether a person's brain structure and hormonal profile correspond to the declared label. It's a total biological test of one's loyalty to one's destiny. But resistance evolves along with the system. The codeless respond by creating complex biological camouflage, cocktails of hormones and neurotransmitters that can make an analyst's brain look like a gardener's for a few hours. A silent, invisible war at the biochemical level begins. A war for the right to be unpredictable. Consider, what does society become in such a confrontation? It becomes a battlefield, where the human body and mind are the front lines, where human nature itself is a field for hacking and defense. The desire for absolute control gives rise to absolute methods of resistance. The system created to eliminate chaos itself becomes a generator of new, more sophisticated chaos. It is forced to violate the last boundaries of privacy, scanning the deepest processes in the body just to maintain order. And each new level of control gives rise to a new level of deception. So where is the limit? At what point does the struggle for stability destroy the very life it is meant to protect? As you reflect, ask yourself, what are you willing to do to preserve your right to privacy? The privacy of your own thoughts and potential, which perhaps even you yourself are not yet aware of. The next logical step in our observation is the global economy. Imagine a market where the word surprise has no place. Everything is predictable 100 years in advance. Every year, the registry system provides a precise number of new specialists in each profession. No more, no less. Planning becomes not an art, but simple arithmetic. Factories do not produce surpluses. Agricultural complexes do not face overproduction. Commodity exchanges, stock markets, currency speculation. All these are archaic concepts of the past. They are abolished as completely unnecessary. What does the economy look like in such a world? It is a perfectly balanced organism, where every organ precisely knows its function and needs. The output of any product, from a microchip to a kilogram of wheat, is calculated by algorithms that take into account the annual registry update, the current depreciation of infrastructure, and consumption statistics, crises of overproduction, unemployment, inflation. These terms remain only in the historical archives. Economic stability has been achieved. The price of this is a complete lack of economic dynamism. Consider the concept of career. It's being transformed. There's no longer vertical growth from junior to senior. There's only horizontal improvement. A CNC machine operator spends their entire life honing their skills on the same type of equipment. Their efficiency grows. Their errors approach zero. But they'll never become the designer of that machine. That role is predetermined for someone else, whose code is design engineer. Social mobility, as we traditionally understand it, is non-existent. It's unnecessary. Everyone is stuck on their own predetermined level of the system. What's happening to the concepts of wealth and poverty? They're leveling out, but they haven't disappeared. Everyone receives the necessary resource package for living and working effectively in their cluster. Housing, food, medical care. Everything is standardized and tied to a professional code. Luxury, as a display of excess, becomes meaningless and then even suspicious. A resource surplus in one cluster signifies a planning error, an algorithmic error that will be immediately corrected. And here's the key question. Is this stability a blessing? An economy without crises, without risks, but also without opportunities. It guarantees survival, but precludes takeoff. It protects against declines, but gives no wings. This is an economy of an eternal calm present. It has no place for the adventurer whose risky deal will give birth to a new industry. No place for the self-taught genius who will build an empire from a garage. There is movement forward, but it is like the ticking of a clock, inevitable, gradual, and devoid of surprises. So what is more important in such a model? Wise foresight, which has spared billions from economic upheaval or spiritual stagnation, where a person is deprived of even the opportunity to make a mistake in their choices and, through mistakes, find a new path. Think about your most precious acquisition. Are you sure it would be possible in a world where everything is calculated and nothing is subject to the gamble of chance? Imagine our transmission is coming to an end. We've followed the entire chain, from the first mark to the genetic protocol. Now let's take a final step back and look at the design as a whole. We've built a perfect mechanism. The question is there room within it for what we call the human spirit? Not as a function, but as an essence. Consider the final paradox. The system created to eliminate the suffering of uncertainty also eliminated the very possibility of transcendence, of going beyond one's own limits. All great discoveries, all leaps of consciousness, were born from breaking the mold, from rebellion against predetermination. The artist rebelled against canon, the scientist against dogma, the inventor against the way things are. In a world of absolute code, rebellion is equated with a breakdown and must be immediately corrected. Thus, the system stabilizes not just society, but human nature itself, halting its historical and spiritual movement. What remains as the driving force? Only fine-tuning remains. An endless microscopic improvement of existing processes. Civilization is locked in a corridor of local maxima. It has achieved incredible heights in what it knows, but has forever lost access to terra incognita, the uncharted lands of spirit and mind that lie beyond the map drawn at birth. Progress has become inertial, not revolutionary. And here is the final observation. In pursuit of guaranteed happiness and security, the system has imperceptibly replaced its goal. The goal has become the uninterrupted operation of the system itself. Man, from the subject for whom this world was built, has transformed into an object necessary for its operation. His value lies in his precise correspondence to function. His happiness lies in the absence of failures. His immortality lies in the copying of his genetic code in future generations of specialists. And so, our thought experiment is complete. We have seen a logical path from one simple premise to the end of all human history in its familiar understanding, full of struggle and discovery. Before you are two poles. On one side is our world, chaotic, unfair, full of suffering and risk, but offering endless opportunity for choice, miracle, and personal breakthrough. On the other is a world of codes, stable, safe, predictable, but ultimately devoid of metaphysical freedom. Where do your personal boundaries of what is acceptable lie? What are you willing to exchange for a lifetime of peace? And most importantly, can an existence in which there is no room for mystery, including the mystery of one's own self, really be called life? There is no answer. There is only your inner choice, made in silence after our voices have faded. Thank you for being with us.